The Idris series of ships may be upon us sooner than we expect. If rumors are to be believed, the interior of the Idris is already in game. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. Thank you to my long-term subscribers. This could be a quick one. So we have seen that if rumors are to be believed, that there are currently tests being done on the new hairstyles and even Idris interiors. What a weird combination. But of course, like many patches, 3.22 is kind of shaping up into like this weird, unique type of thing where we have these deep dives into certain things that are critical and then other things that are kind of a long-term view. Do I think that there will be a surprise Idris release on 3.22? No, and I may eat my words, but I just don't think the servers can support the amount of people who will spawn full-size Idrises. And if people actually try to use them, like organizations that have the ability to utilize Idris in a proper manner, even if these rumors are confirmed, and later in PTU testing, we will test the heck out of these. But I think they're probably going to be initially first done in NPC missions. Maybe you have to clear it of Xenothreat or some other group for the sake of the CDF or the UEE forces. And that allows CIG to kind of set the spawns of these things, keep them separated, keep the instances keep the instance type gameplay separated, where they're just they're when you warp in, they're brought into existence. Work is done. Maybe a salvage mission is triggered, maybe as a next stage, dare I say it, and then finally there's a timer. Eventually it goes away. That way they can keep spawning more of these things as time goes on. We've seen it in other events where the Idris is kind of the crown jewel of a lead up to a multiple contracts in a row, where you just knock out each one, and then when you finally get to the Idris, it's kind of the crown jewel. As a reminder, the NPC Idris is kind of a unique thing. The devs said when they first started releasing the Idris into the higher end content that they purposely removed its ability to focus fire its turrets. And that was to make it more fun, because they said in the internal playtesting, the type of ships that players have in their hands basically could get insta-popped by the Idris, and or at the very least get heavily damaged. So I think as we see other ships coming online, like the Idris itself, I mean, there will eventually, in the next 12 months, be Idrises running around, most likely, that will literally be able to fight NPC Idrises. You have Polarises that are going to be in the next 12 months, and perhaps other surprises, quasi-capitals and capitals. And don't forget, not far behind these type of ships is the Perseus. Perseus is pretty high up on that list as well of the RSI backlog ships. Even Nautilus. Nautilus has some serious amount of weaponry on it, facing frontally, and then of course its mines if we can get them to run. As a reminder, mines were stated to they were not meant to design to take down a capital ship, but more to damage it. But the NPC Idris has, by some estimates, only 10% of the player Idris's hit points, and by other accounts, it is significantly lower, but not as low as 10%. But that all remains to be seen. There's a lot of balancing that needs to be done around ship armor. Physicalized components and armor in general needs a ton of work. But in general, in the short term, if we generalize things, we can think about the amount of hit points it has will be low enough that it will still be fun for the ships in the game without allowing them to insta-pop the targets. So I have confidence in CIG's ability to balance around the ships coming. I also have confidence in players trying to game the system. Well, parking multiple extremely large ships that are not really meant to be put together into these missions and just kind of blitzing them. So some of the largest orgs in the game, I would not be shocked to see videos of them figuring out a way where they all take the contract chain all at the same time, and they just burst through them, and then they have like 5 of these ships to take down, or groups of these ships to take down, and in all their glory, and then they knock them all out, and then they post up a short clip of the last bit of their missions, and then everybody goes, oh my goodness, the game's broken, they're getting millions of UEC, and it's like, well, you didn't see all the setup work, you didn't see how they were coordinating, and how they're, really bringing literally thousands of real world dollars of resources towards the fight, or tons and tons and tons, tens of millions of AUEC of resources to the fight, or some combination thereof. So, and of course, the skilled teams that go into that. So, I wouldn't be shocked if we see some big numbers, big fights. A lot more fun PvE content, especially getting fleshed out, and it's always good fun to see these bigger ships getting put together. And I think also interiors being added to cap ships, if the rumor is confirmed, is very welcome. Interiors to cap ships is something that's a big milestone. I think of the first time I went through the Jav tour a few years ago in launch week, and I think of all the other times over the years I've gone back through that Jav tour, and each time I get entertained by it. And I take a good look at the NPC's AI pathing and issues, but also some of the successes, and think of a ship of this scale sitting in a dock, and the docks are actually usable now. And I think of the ability to really start seeing the edges, seeing like what we can truly build into these org-based ships that are not just for a single player to sit down in and have a nice session, ships you can actually live on with your friends, ships that you can enjoy having both combat and non-combat. So if you are despairing hearing this, that there could be these type of things, don't be. The fact that there's interiors being designed on large ships that are combat based also means that there is hope for the non-combat, the logistics and utility classed vessels, and your science vessels are going to be shortly thereafter. Maybe not in the next 12 months, but I sternly believe that they will come around. And don't forget, you can always repurpose military vessels in the meantime, and make do where you need to bring your stuff. Nobody says that Idris can't be full of other vehicles. Nobody says the Liberator isn't coming, and that's another one that will have that. Or the Polaris's hangar can certainly be put with a scanning vessel and a lot of exploration vehicles in below. So, just some thoughts. Take it what you will. I just wanted to kind of get these thoughts off my chest. I'm actually more excited for 3.22 in a lot of other ways. Some of the things that I've heard that are possible, and they're being currently in testing, and this is actually CIG posting about this, discussing it, is the use of the hangar to be able to get back rare goods. So a lot of the feedback I had on my last video was circling around the idea of, why should I pick up rare subscriber and event-based armors, undersuits, weapons, etc. if I'm just going to lose them in an hour, if I'm just going to lose them in one playtest, if I'm going to lose them in 130K? I hear you. I really do. I mentioned already my use case is a little unique, because I go PTU to PTU build, and in some cases those PTU builds, especially towards the end, can be less than 24 hours between PTU builds. And I don't do this as a job, I do this as a hobby. So it's oftentimes that I'll only have one session in each PTU build, even if it's a 24 or 48-hour period. So it's pretty common for me, and I consider myself on the higher end of PTU activity in the community, dare I say it. But I still consider myself as very, very well served by these armors, because I have a few different kinds, and I just throw them on and I just get out there, because the PTU can get very unstable the longer you're in it. And also, you want to focus down the experiences you want to do. You want to focus down the test cycles, areas that you need. If you spend 20 minutes going to find armor and suits and clothing and weapons, by the time you do all that, the server could go down, or you could be 30K twice. So my suggestion to people is, if you're serious about the PTU, consider it an investment. I'm not saying this set. I'm not saying that. Whatever set you think looks nice, whatever's cheap. Uh, I know I'm sounding a little rough, but any kind of armor, especially to answer that question if it comes up. The cheapest armor you can get that you like. Um, particularly like armor for the chest, because then you can mount different types of tools and extra magazines and in the future batteries and stuff like that for the utility gear and all those other different things. And you already got undersuits, so just for reference, I know a lot of the sets are being consolidated. That's what we keep hearing. So you might not have that option in the future. You might need to just buy a whole set. Whatever set is the cheapest when it's on sale, grab it. That's a good investment in the PTU. I found a couple different sets is nice. Obviously, that's a nice to have. It is not essential, and none of this is critical. They just look nice, and there's something to have. I also wanted to remind everybody the Exenfuel flight suit, like you saw in the video, does not currently allow for back options like the two-hand tractor beam or the two-handed weapons, the long arms, etc., whatever you like to call them. Um, those I don't think that's a glitch. I think that's the future of flight suits. I think they don't want you having stuff on your back if you're sitting in a pilot seat or in a bridge crew seat, and that the weapon racks are going to be required to be used. But as I noted in one of the comments in the discussion in the last video, I'm not quite sure about armistice zones. How are we going to be able to navigate that? So I think if they allow you to put the weapon in your hands at like the low ready, where it's pointed at the ground basically, and it cannot be fired, would make sense, and then place it into the rack and just say this is the way forward. Or maybe you have to throw it directly from your inventory and then into the rack, but that goes against what they've been trying to push for this physicalized inventory where everything is like a thing in your hands or a thing that's been tractor beamed or a thing in a box. So I'm curious to see how they're going to handle that. And but maybe this flight suit is a signal of what's to come for pilot seats and bridge crew in general. You won't be able to have stuff on your back at the minimum, and then they'll slowly phase out heavy armor, and then maybe even medium armor, and then finally the question mark of light armor. Will that be allowed? I hope it is allowed for at least a long period of time, and I hope all of this stuff is slowly, glacially phased in, because we, like, once again, armistice zones and a lot of other question marks, and players are going to be very frustrated and think it's a glitch. There's going to be a lot of user education there. A lot of us kind of getting out of our old modes. I often wear light armor myself, not flight suits. I prefer light armor in most cases. So I guess we'll see. Um, for 3.22, some of the more exciting stuff I'm excited to do is explore some of the newer outposts that are going to be in, and I am cautiously optimistic about smaller things like pyro previews possibly coming back. So this is something CIG has been floating for a bit now. Is like, look, we all know it's going to happen. It's a question of when and where, etc. And I may have missed a thread. I'll be honest with you. I do research on these videos before I put them together. But this is kind of a free thoughts video here. Just my initial takes of some of the rumors floating around and the 3.22's deliverables. And I'm doing some. I can't really find too much research on the outpost discussions and such, and particularly Pyro specifically. Um, I have a theory that there is some things they want to keep a little quiet. We've seen a lot in the Pyro preview, but there's a lot of missing things. There's a lot of things that they're not really fully in. It was only the close in planets and only a couple of the stations, and most notably, Ruin Station was not part of the test. So by having more outpost focus in 3.22, it kind of signals to me that they're trying to get more of the settlements off the ground and get them more into the game and flesh them out for the planets. And I strongly suspect the next Pyro preview may have the Ruin Station. May is the keyword. But I think Checkmate is certainly going to be there, and I think the planets will be even more fleshed out. And when that Pyro preview will happen is probably late December, if I was to guess. I am guessing here. Once again, I might have missed a thread. I apologize if I did. Please post it below. I'll be glad to note that comment and be sure to boost it so people can see it. But the next Pyro test is probably going to be late December, based on all indications. And like I said, if I missed the thread, so be it. But yeah, the focus on cargo in 3.22 is very interesting to me. And another take at the beginning, I kept to the end here. I mentioned the hairstyles towards the beginning of this video, and now I'm coming back to them. Uh, I just wanted to check my bias a little bit. This is something I personally really appreciate, that the character model equipment is going in slowly but surely, and it's not just hair. When we looked at the Citizen Con kind of design of being able to build a character that's more, has more fidelity, has more of a depth, it is most welcome. If you can build something that you really grow attached to, it doesn't look like a carbon copy of everybody else walking around. Uh, it's very, very, very welcome. The last thing we want is a GTA Online situation where everybody's got like the same kind of face model, and it's just, you know, skin tone and hair color, and that's it, basically. Um, so I really am glad to see this. I think this is one of those things that's going to be, no one's going to talk about it, but it's going to be noticeable, very, very noticeable, and not just in players, but also in NPCs. Seeing a lot more different kinds of faces, a lot more in general, different kinds of humanity is pretty cool, and I welcome it. So I'm gonna bite my tongue and not keep rambling on about faces and hairstyles and stuff, because um, I understand and respect that everybody's not really into that, but the folks that are, you should be excited for 3.22. This is going to help with building up your characters and making some fun identities, and also seeing once again the NPCs kind of come to life a little bit more, even if they were walking into the walls or standing on a chair. The ones that are acting correct are good. And speaking of that, replication layer testing. So there has been some tests that we've heard about that were a single layer being placed into a session, and then it was like part of the Stanton system was on the one server, and part of the Stanton system was on another part of the server, and they had its own replication layer, etc. The future testing would be multiple replication layers per these little mini server areas. If this actually goes through the way it's supposed to go, servers will suddenly have a ton more resources to focus down server FPS and in general the AI issues. Now, I may catch a lot of flack for claiming that because I'm paraphrasing a ton of technology without overwhelming you. And I'm sure there's 12 different SC channels that will go into it much more in depth. And if you'd like, I'll go into a video where I dive deep, and I'll bring on somebody who is literally is an expert on these things. Find somebody who's AWS certified and goes in depth about cloud computing and how the concepts. If you'd really like that, I can go find that. But in general, what you need to know is that if this replication layer stuff you keep hearing about goes through, server AI will have more resources. Now, here's the fun part. Will they actually use those resources efficiently? Will suddenly the server AI not like overdo it? That's my concern. I've seen bunker missions at high server FPS where they start trying to make headshot after headshot on players. I've seen it. I had a Cuddy Red, and I've literally had to spawn multiple times laughing about it with friends. Like, this is ridiculous. And we're just chucking grenade launcher rounds in and in and in because there was just no way to literally just start fighting these these headshot machines. And then you get deeper into the bunker, and they magically don't have that capability. It's just so it's going to be buggy at best, because I think that the AI is tuned up for combat in a unique way where it's like, because they only had so many server ticks, they try to overcompensate. And now that they'll have a whole bunch more server FPS, I'm going to use quotes here, ticks. I'm once again paraphrasing a whole bunch of different technologies and ideas. They will literally be able to do some really superhuman like things in their defined areas in the tiny little bunker spaces. I'm particularly applying to FPS discussion here, not talking about ship combat. Ship combat's a whole nother ball game. It's purposely detuned on purpose, and the ships have less hit points on purpose, a lot less hit points than you. to make it fun, so you have waves of threats and such in most cases. So bear that in mind. Replication layer is exciting. I think there will be some teething issues, things that you might not expect. So if you happen to find yourself in testing, hint, hint, that would be a really interesting thing to test, is the AI's responsiveness during a multi-replication layer testing. If we are lucky enough to be able to jump in there, that is something I'll be doing, and see how it performs. Maybe finally see the brand new AI sporting a beautiful haircut and shooting away, and really taking cover and flanking and really doing appropriate things, because they are scary when they have some server AI, when they have some resources to throw at the fight. That's all I got. Thanks for tuning in again. This has kind of been a free-former. I don't expect this to have an incredible amount of views, but I want to capture exactly what I'm seeing when I see it. And should we get into the PTU very soon, which I strongly suspect is going to be a thing based on these new flare-ups of testing that are internal right now, so at least if everything's to be believed, and that's fine. But once they are in the PTU, once they get in my hands, I will gladly be covering them heavily. So if you like that kind of stuff, that's what this video is all about, and that's what the next videos that'll be focusing down this. Additionally, I want to cover something I've been working on throughout this event, but I just want to give you a hint now, because I don't want anybody to feel like I left you behind or something. There is a CCU from the Starfarer Gemini to the Endeavor that only costs 10 USD. And if it's going to take years for it to pay out, but if you want to guarantee yourself a cheap capital ship, it's not a combat capital, it's a long-term ship, it's one of the last ships that'll be developed, pick that Star G to Endeavor CCU up. As a reminder, when you go in the pledge store, if you go to ship upgrades, you can click all ships in the top left corner, so you can buy a CCU from any ship to any ship. And it doesn't even need to be a ship the ship that you're going from does not even need to be available, but the ship you're going to does need to be available. So during these days of the finale, if you're listening to this when I released it, the Endeavor is available as a CCU. Once again, it's only 10 USD. You can hold that ship. Don't worry about anything else. If you have, my suggestion is, if you have 10 USD in credit to throw around, one of them is not a bad idea. I'm not saying buy a stack of them like I do. I'm not saying anything else. I have a video I'm preparing about that topic. I just want to make sure that I don't release the video, and then everybody who really does follow my videos doesn't go, what the heck? You didn't let me in on the secret. It's not a secret. It's a long-term thing, but I strongly suspect in the coming year or two, the price of the Endeavor will slowly go up as soon as they have anything to announce on it. So it's one of those things where right now it's only $10 to hold the ship, and that ship will skyrocket in value. It's a literal hospital. It's it's the largest science ship in the game. It's modular. It's incredible. And yes, to answer anybody's questions, I do understand that modules cost money, but even a capital module will be nothing compared to the capital class ship it's attached to. And particularly if you can score a 10-year or LTI on that ship when you apply the CCU, you have to obviously chain the CCU chain to do that. It'll be definitely worth it. So just if you hear nothing else, strongly consider the Starfarer Gemini to Endeavor 10 USD CCU, just one of those, and just sock it away for a rainy day. Don't worry about it. And then in 5 years or something, when you're at a Citizen Con, thank me, okay? So at that point, it'll probably be worth a lot more. just some food for thought if you got the credit laying around anyway. And I just don't want any spoiled milk or sour thoughts, just because the video might take me a little bit longer. Who knows? I might release it tonight. I might release it the next couple days, based on how it turns out. I try to do some QC on these, And also, there's a new audio chain on this. So on this specific video, that's actually why I kind of freeformed this. And I'm very excited to test it out. So let me know what you think of the audio chain. So it's all digital. It's not like I spent any crazy amount of money. It's just it's already leveraging the equipment I have. But just let me know what you think. All right, thanks. Fly safe. Small cut in here. The Novikov armor will have a backpack coming in 2024. So it looks like early 2024. It'll be added to one of the sprints. This was confirmed by Xylo CIG, who said this on Spectrum as a response due to one of the descriptions for the new Ascension series having a backpack that'll fit the Novikov armor. Now, as a reminder, that armor is super thick. Yes, it's like negative 230 degrees Celsius, not negative 300. That doesn't exist. I get it. Ha ha ha. But that fancy armor that's nice and thick will have a backpack. And as a reminder, usually when you do have a backpack, it should not take away from your ability to put two-handed weapons on your back. So it's just a nice little perk, and this was a good move by CIG to make good on this, and because they could have went the other way with this and just said, look, it doesn't have the backpack or reimburse people, etc. and whatnot. This was a good move. So that's it for now. Thank you again for checking in, and let's see a strong 3.22 PTU patch cycle, hopefully extremely soon.